India is no more the fastest growing economy in the world. In 2017, the rupee appreciated against the dollar, and in 2018, it depreciated against the dollar. So it is largely due to the currency fluctuations and growth slowdown, said Devendra Path, the chief economist at India Ratings and Research. He also added that the ranking could change if the growth picks up. India still remains the fastest growing major economy in the world, although the growth is estimated to slow down to 7% or below in the current fiscal year that ends in March. China is expected to face a sharper slowdown due to the ongoing tariff spat with the US. Last month, the research firm IHS Markets had said that India will overtake UK as the fifth largest economy in the world in 2019 and is likely to shoot past Japan to emerge as the third largest economy by 2025. If India persists with this economy of real GDP of last year 2018, India will not surpass both of the countries. The government of India has unveiled a plan to emerge as $5 trillion economy by 2024 to 2025, and the Economic Survey of 2018-19 has said that the country needs to sustain a real growth of GDP rate of 8% to achieve the goal. While the growth is expected to be in the 7% range in the current fiscal year, the most economists and the multilateral agencies expect it to gather more momentum and push past over the 7% mark next year as the impact of the measures unveiled by the government of India. In 2017, India was at $2.65 trillion, UK at $2.64 trillion, and France at $2.5 trillion, helping the third largest economy in Asia to emerge as the fifth largest economy at that time. The economist has said India taking the slowing largest economy global economy tag in 2018 was largely due to the currency fluctuation and economic slowdown in the growth. India has been pushed to the 7th place in global GDP rankings in 2018-19, with the UK France forging ahead to 5th and 6th spots. The data compiled by the Wolrd Bank showed in 2018, India has emerged as 6th largest economy, while the France was pushed to the 7th place in global GDP league table. The US remains the top economy with GDP of $20.5 trillion in 2018. China was second largest economy with $13.6 trillion, while Japan took the third place with $5 trillion. India's GDP was $2.7 trillion in 2018, while UK and France were at $2.8 trillion. So what do you think of India no more the largest economy or the fastest growing economy in the world, while India slips to 7th largest economy while it was before 5th and 6th ranked in the world's real GDP growth rankings? The US on Friday announced its decision to end the preferential tariff of $5.6 billion of Indian export from June 5th, after determining that it has not assured the US that it will provide the equitable and reasonable access to its market. I have determined that India has not assured the US that it will provide the equality and the reasonable access to its markets. Accordingly, it is appropriate to terminate India's designation as the beneficiary developing countries effective June 5th of 2019, said US President Donald Trump. The US has announced the withdrawal of special duty benefits under the Generalized System of Preference or the GSP on March 5th and were to come into force from the first week of May. However, Washington decided to postpone the implementation of its decision until May 23rd, when India gets a new government. The US Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross met former Commerce and the Industry Minister Suresh Prabhu met last month, wherein the two discussed the issues related to e-commerce, data protection and localization and intellectual property rights. As per a study by the Federation of Indian Export Organization, India's global merchandise exports for 2018 were at $324.7 billion, of which $51.4 billion were to US. However, only $6.35 billion of export from India to US benefit from the GSP scheme. Such exports were covered under 1921 US tariff lines. No exceptions to the PV cells washers. The US also removed the exception for India from the application of the safeguard measures on crystalline silicon photovoltaic, or the CSPV, the products on the large residential washers effective from June 5th. Trump said, "I have determined to remove it from the list of developing country WTO members exempt from the application of the safeguard measures of the CSPV products and large residential washers." In January last year, the US had implemented the safeguard measures on the import of certain CSPV cells and large washers as the individual share of total imports of the product exceeds 3%. And imports of all such countries with less than 3% of import share collectively accounted for more than 9% of the total imports of the product. So what do you think of? Modi became the Prime Minister and failing to gain the trust and the trade benefits from the US, while US is asking and saying and putting some policies against India's trade barriers for US benefits. With this, terminating the preferential trade status for India will affect Indian trade, or it won't. India's ascent on the global stage has claimed another victory after its stock market overtook Germany to become the 7th largest in the world. India edged past the equity market of Europe's largest economy for the first time in 7 years, according to data compiled by the Bloomberg. That means after UK leaves the European Union in the March, the bloc would have only one country, France, among the 7 biggest markets. The move reflects India's positive return this year as the company's reliance on domestic demand enabled them to avoid the meltdown in other emerging markets spurred by the Federal Reserve tightening and a trade war between the US and China. It also highlights the challenges facing the European Union, including its future relationship with the UK, a standoff with Italy, or the budget allocations and separatist clashes in Spain. While the MSCI Emerging Markets Index is heading for a 17% decline this year, India's benchmark S&P BSE Sensex is up 5% after seesawing throughout the year amid the oil price volatility. In the year dominated by the trade protectionism and punitive tariff by the Donald Trump's President of the United States administration on China, it's little bit wonder that investors have turned cautious over countries with heavy dependence on the exports. Germany derives more than 38% of its gross domestic product from exports based on 2017 data from the Wolrd Bank. The corresponding ratio for India is only 11%, meaning much of the stock market opportunity in the country comes from the domestic consumer stories. Reliance on the local demand and entrepreneurship also puts India ahead in growth sweepstakes. The South Asian nation is projected to grow 7.4% this year and 7.3% in 2019, as a far cry from German growth of 1.6% for each year, while 7.5% and the 7.3% coming in next year is basically less than before and before decades and before 2 to 3 years while Modi became the Prime Minister of India. So what do you think of India's growth? Is much higher than other countries, but it's basically lower than its India's original GDP when Prime Minister Modi took over the government from other Congress party.